Picture this. You're about to introduce yourself to your stakeholders. How will you master this moment? Because listen, family, this particular moment, this moment right here can define your project success. Hey, if you're new to the channel, I go by the name of ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there, listen, I'm just going to make it simple and plain. It just means Ed. Today's episode is entitled How to Master First Impression, the Project Team Introduction. Again, How to Master First Impressions, the Project Team Introduction. I have a 7-point framework. I'm actually going to throw in a bonus for this. These are things that along my journey has really helped me when I'm coming into a new team, or there's a new project being started up, or I'm coming into a new team with a existing team already in place, and basically I may be switching out for the project manager. So let's go to the first point. Point number one, elevator pitch. Listen, I was at an amazing conference. They call it Funnel Hacking Live. And one of the things that I realized at the Funnel Hacking Live conference was when you would introduce yourself to people, people would ask, hey, so what do you do? And I would say, hey, I'm a project manager. And I was like, oh, great. So what do you do? So I started listening to, I started asking them questions like, hey, what do you do? And they were able to answer them quickly and really fast. And so this is what you call the agile mindset, basically being able to learn on the fly or be able to make adjustments and not wait until it's later on in the process. So what I did was I met someone else and they said, hey, what do you do? And then this was the caveat. He said, you got 5 seconds to tell me what you do. I said, hey, I facilitate people and materials and resources. He said, oh, wow, so you do project management. I said, yes, exactly. And point I'm trying to make here, family, with the elevator pitch, being able to highlight your expertise at a high level, and then if they want to know more, they being your stakeholders, to be able to boil it down as far as they want to go with you. It also involves talking about your contributions, but from a high level, you want to be able to speak intelligently in 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, but being able to expound upon when more questions come about. So family, if you're ever out and I run into you in public and I say, hey, so what do? You should be able to articulate to me, if you're a project manager, a project coordinator, program manager, portfolio manager, be able to boil it down to a simple one sentence or less about what you do and what type of value you can provide. Let's move on to point number two. Point number two is kickoff meetings. You know, one of the biggest things that I think that sometimes as project managers we forget about is that, yes, we'll have a kickoff meeting when the project starts, but what happens when a new project manager comes on board? Why don't we never have a kickoff meeting for that? That's just something to make you think. But really, family, we need to have a kickoff meeting for that, meaning that we need to realign expectations, meaning who is the team? The team needs to understand who you are. So the team needs to understand what you do and what type of value you bring and the resources that are actually going to be on the team. Because who knows what may have happened to the stakeholders. You got to get them re-engaged. You got to get them excited. I don't know why I'm saucing, but I'm feeling good right now. So I'm going to keep it going. But really, honestly though, family, on a real talk, we have to ensure that we have that kickoff meeting, and not just at when a project begins. When a project manager is being replaced, meaning that they may have to go work another project, or they decided to leave the organization, being able to basically re-baseline all of the expectations and what you plan on bringing will definitely bring value to your project. Point number three, clear team rules. Listen, more and more, I am realizing the value of setting clear, defined roles and responsibilities. Why do we want to do that? Well, we want to do that because we want to eliminate any potential confusion and overlap within the team, because there's sometimes that we can use a resource or a stakeholder to be able to do multiple things, and we may not need the other stakeholder. We may need to use that stakeholder to somewhere else. So knowing what those clear roles are, you can really kind of use your resources a lot. And like I said, one of the things that I'm going to fight for, or my special announcement to PMI, is being able to talk about adding resource constraints. And these days and times, sometimes I'm noticing that an individual or stakeholder basically is doing two or one or two roles, basically two roles. And when they're doing two roles, being able to understand which one of those roles are going to be valuable and which one of them is not. So being able to set a clear expectation as far as what are their roles and responsibility for this project. You don't want somebody leading from a budgeting, or I should say cost measure standpoint, when they don't have a background in that, or they've never done it before. Now I'm all about giving opportunity, because that's how we all learn. I mean, how did I start this YouTube channel? I had to go through trials and tribulations, and I'm still having a great time doing it. And I appreciate you guys subscribing and hitting that like button, because you guys have been showing me some love. So shout out to you guys who's showing me that love. But what I'm saying to you, family, being able to set clear team roles will definitely help you. That way people understand what they're there for and what your expectations for. And I'm going to use that same saying that I love saying, is because if we don't set the expectation, then we're going to have frustration within the project. Storytelling. This is something I'm working more and more. If you can't tell in the video, I'm adding, I should say videos, I'm adding more storytelling to the process, because being able to tell a story of past experiences, and that really kind of develops confidence within the team. I remember recently I had to tell a story about outcomes. We were talking about how we were talking about how we're supposed to get this particular project done, and one of the stakeholders said, well, I'm going to do mine this way. Another stakeholder was like, I'm going to do mine this way. And I said, hey, that's great. All I care is about the outcome. And here comes the story. I said, I was teaching my daughter about, she was asking me about, why do I throw paper at the actual garbage can, to shoot it in the garbage. I said, well, I play basketball, and hey, I just enjoy, shooting paper at the basket. I don't know. And then she was like, well, I just walk over and put it in there. I said, but let me unpack that for you. What basically the outcome is that we both got the paper in the garbage can, correct? She was like, yeah. So it doesn't matter how it got there. All it matters is the outcome, that which what it was is that we got the piece of paper in the garbage can. And so the point I'm trying to drive on that analogy, family, is that it doesn't matter about the outcome when it comes to how these two stakeholders were going about it. Oh, excuse me. Let me digress. It does matter about the outcome, but the outcome it doesn't matter how we got to the outcome, as long as it's ethical, as long as it's reasonable, as long as we achieve what we're supposed to achieve on the project. Point number 5, I have to do better with this too, family. From time to time, I'll do this, which is icebreakers. Basically, doing icebreakers really breaks up and breaks down the barriers. In the Bruce Tuckman model, they always talk about the first two things that I focus on more than everything else is the forming and storming aspect of things within those stages. And the reason why is because everyone has their barrier. They don't know if they can trust you. They don't know if you're there really to help, or you're really on a path to really sabotage the particular project. And so if that's the case, they're going to have barriers up. They don't know you, and because they don't know you and you haven't given them enough information to feel that they can trust you, barriers are going to be up. But with icebreakers, it breaks that barrier. It creates a sense of, watch this, it creates a sense of care, or better yet, it creates a sense of comfort. And when you create that sense of comfort, when people feel comfortable and they feel more relatable, then it's like, oh, okay, well, I see where this person is coming from. I'm willing to work with them a little bit more versus anything else. Let's move on to point number 6. Clarity of expectations. Oh my God, that word expectations. I tell you, clear expectation for deliverables, timelines, and performance matrix have to be communicated on a timely and effective basis. If we're not being as leaders in leading our projects and communicating the expectations of this project, as that saying goes, they'll go all willy-nilly, but honestly they would, because of the fact that they don't know what the timeline is, because all of a sudden the timeline has been rebaselined, but you didn't communicate out, hey team, this has been a rebaseline. And I'm not just talking about verbally, because I've gotten myself in trouble with that as well in my past, where I will communicate a timeline out verbally, one of the resources, well, another resource from another team will document it and say, well, Ed said this, so we're going to go with what he said, and they document it, but I didn't send it out via email and say, hey, this is the new timeline, this is the new rebaseline. So we have to be sure, and I'm pointing the finger at myself too, to ensure that we set clear expectations around our timelines and what the expectation and deliverables are. Moving on to point number 7, feedback loop. I almost started to call this therapy sessions. Did you like that? Reason why I wanted to call it therapy session is because when you're able to give a feedback loop, when someone can tell you something out of trust and it doesn't get back to the person that they were saying things about, and it's not about something being negative, it's just, hey, John over there is not doing his job. I mean, what I mean by he's not doing his job, you gave him a task and he's not prioritizing it over all the rest of his work because he's bogged down or he's not doing what he's supposed to do. And so it's up to me as the project manager to ask probing questions like, hey, John, how's things coming with the task that we agreed on that you were going to complete? And he said, oh, it's going well. Could you explain how it's going well? Do you have a tracker? Show me what you have so far so we can I want to make sure we're on the same page. So being able to create those feedback loops really develops and creates that trust. Point number 8, I couldn't walk away without giving you guys a bonus today. And I remixed this as well. Instead of saying effective communication for this, what we're talking about today, I'm going to say trust communication. Listen, the ability to develop trust within your team is the only way you're going to have major success. Now, people may disagree with me. Hey, that's your opinion, just like this is my opinion. But the reason why I say trust communication is important, if you say you're going to do something, if you say you're going to be there to support your stakeholders regardless of what is happening, meaning that you have their back, you making sure that if they are being pulled in meetings that has nothing to do with the project that we're working on and leading, because let's say for instance they're assigned directly to your project, they don't have any other work, but because they're such a good resource, people are tapping them and wanting them to work on other projects. That's one of the reasons why I love the Scrum framework, is because of what the Scrum Master, that resource makes sure that they're not bothered, they being the development team, that they're not interrupted, that they have a clear tunnel vision focus to focus on the sprint that we agreed upon. And so I say that within leveraging a waterfall approach is being able to have a trust communication. Listen, these 8 points that I shared with you, they can be transferable in any business, personal or business, I should say, because we have to understand, and there's many more. Maybe I may make a part 2. It depends how much love you guys show me. But really, these items are really just some of the foundation. There's much more that we can go into and have a deeper dive into. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I've been your boy ED. You know my slogan. I'm out.